protest song.
The cure for warfare.
Yes, we hope this song might prove to be the cure for warfare. We're gonna...
Make beer, not bombs.
It's a song entitled Make Beer, Not Bombs, otherwise entitled Let's Just All Get Bombed on Alcohol.
That's right, that's the way to attack our enemies.
We're hoping...
Bring them to the bar. Come on, my little terrorist friend, join me at the bar.
Hoping that all of you can sing along and join us in this protest.
Let's do an Irish...
We have but two key words we want you to focus on. The two bottom words.
Not bombs. Oh, wow.
Beer, not bombs. Make booze, not bombs. Then drink until we all get bombed. Shoot liquor, not bombs. Grab shots, not bombs. Why make war when we can all get bombed?
If you want to.
I'm so glad to be here. And we have some great natural light. This is so beautifully set up. Like the universe led us to this point right now. Vermin and your vice presidential candidate. Thank you so much.
Hello. Mr. Jonathan Realz, my vice presidential candidate, and we are on the ballot here in Delaware, and that is why we are here in Delaware, for no other reason at all. Let me assure you, if we were not on the ballot, we would not be in Delaware right now.
Yeah, because Delaware's shown you a lot of love, hasn't it?
It has. Yes, it's been a crazy week. We've had gigs almost every day and night, and we've just been walking in the various neighborhoods and downtown and meeting the people and talking to the people, and it's always a crazy, wonderful mix. Yes, with the boot on the head, and but we're meeting people, and they take it at face value. They tell us their hopes, their dreams, what they would do differently in the government. Some people don't believe it. It's like, hi, I'm Vermin Supreme, I'm running for president. No, you're not. It's like, yes, I am. And other people get it. They get the humor. Other people get confused by it. It's nice. Me and Jonathan, we walk up on people, and we'll surround them. Jonathan will be there, and I'll be here, and then we do this thing. 1, 2, 3. Hi, I'm Vermin Supreme, and I'm running for President of America, and we are on the ballot here in Delaware, and you can vote for us if you want to. And it's so funny. But it's simple, it's elegant, it's effective, it's pretty freaking funny. Yeah. And people seem to have really, they've been enjoying the hell out of it.
Oh yeah, they love it.
They just love it.
It's so funny.
And I think that's part of the love that my campaign gets, because it's like sort of this live action cartoon. It's sort of this Mad Magazine come to life. It's a crazy person with a boot on their head, asking you to suspend disbelief, asking you to talk to me about ponies and what you're going to name your pony, and imagining zombie power, and it's a lot of fun to have people who don't get that opportunity every day to role play, to LARP a little bit in the real world unexpectedly. A little improv, and people will ask me questions, and I'll have to come up with answers or give them a canned response, or just depending on their level of interaction. And we've had some just beautiful, beautiful moments, and people at the Dollar Tree were just giving us so much love.
Oh man,
much love.
We had a whole sing-along, like an impromptu sing-along with two older ladies at the Dollar Tree, and it was like one was a customer and one was a cashier, and we just had like a whole musical number in the Dollar Tree. It was wonderful.
What song did you sing?
It was completely improvised.
Yes,
that's so beautiful.
Just making stuff up. It's real good.
What can we expect today at Squeezebox Records?
Well, I think we're going to do the better part of my complete set. We are going to do my show, which is a show that I've been touring around with, It's been a beautiful thing. A lot of venues. They're sort of like Facebook tours, essentially. Where on my Facebook I'll say, "Hey, Delaware, who wants to do a thing?"
Yeah.
And people respond, and I send them my price card, and they might find a venue, or they might want to have a house party, or maybe they'll bring me to their campus. If you're college kids, I'm also a college presenting guy.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've got all these things, and I've been toured through Ohio, through Michigan, just all over, and usually get 25, 30 to 60 people who know Vermin Supreme from the internet, but have no idea what I'm going to do live. And then when I do my live show, it just like blows their socks off.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. I love doing it, and it's a great way to earn gas money. Ask Jonathan about what the hell he's all doing and all about and stuff.
So, John, how did you get involved with this campaign?
Hey,
and
how
what
are
is your
you?
experience with politics?
Hold on. I'm gonna get up and say hi to these
course.
people, and you can do the one-on-one with Jonathan while I stand up. Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'll slide over to you. Yeah. Blah, blah.
Amazing Crocs. Look at these.
Oh yeah, these. So when you come to Delaware, it's difficult to leave. So I came prepared with some ruby slippers, and yeah. So hopefully, if worst case scenario, the portals don't let me leave, I can click these slippers together. Head on back to Alabama.
You're from Alabama.
Alabama, yeah. So Vermin asked me to be his running mate. It was a complete and utter shock. It felt like a Make-A-Wish kid moment. But I'm an actor before I got involved in politics, but I've been a big fan of Vermin for a long time. And I ran for U.S. Congress in 2022. And Vermin came down. We caused a little trouble in Alabama. We had a big rally outside of the state capitol because there was a court case where they held up a picture of Vermin Supreme as a piece of evidence as to why third-party ballot access for when I was running for the Libertarian Party was their argument was that Vermin Supreme was evidence that the Libertarian Party was a joke and did not need ballot access.
That's horrible.
And so they used that as a way to deny us the voter list to ask for signatures and be able to go out and canvass. So we had a nice little protest outside the Capitol and a nice little rally about the corruption in the state of Alabama. But then all of a sudden, here we are. Fast forward a couple of years, I'm Vermin's running mate.
It's
the
beautiful.
youngest vice presidential candidate to ever be on the ballot. I'm 36 years old. I'm barely legal.
That's history. You literally made history right here.
That's right, in Delaware.
In Delaware, yeah.
In a state that doesn't even exist.
Do you think that in the future there could be a third or multiple party system in America, or do you think that it will never happen?
No, I do think that in the future we could go to a system that is a multi-party system, but to get to that, the things that people need to be aware of are ranked choice voting, which I feel like is one of the big things that would negate a lot of this whole spoiler mentality when it comes to third-party politics. Ranked choice voting would remedy that. But also, people need to be aware that what the biggest hurdle for third parties is not necessarily awareness of third parties. People are pretty aware that you can run for office and not be part of the major parties. But the issue is that in some states you have to jump through huge hurdles, like in Alabama, where you have to have 56,000 signatures.
Yeah, that's outrage. That's
if you want to be listed with a party next to your name. Tennessee does the same thing. Very close to the same numbers. I think it's about 64,000 signatures or something like that. It's absolute insanity.
Yeah.
And that, if those types of laws were pulled off the books, or at least made fair, then we might see a difference. I mean, could you imagine if the Republicans and Democrats had to go out and get 56,000 signatures to make the ballot just like any other party?
No, they're already set up as ready, and they also get access to funds from the government.
The matching funds.
They even recently in this election have denied Jill Stein funds for her campaign, and that's I don't really fully agree with a lot of policies.
Sure,
but that's just outrageous.
No,
and no matter what you run, as long as people vote for you or people support you, you deserve to have a platform. It's really the people's choice at the end of the day.
Yeah. Anything other than a fair platform is interfering with the election, in my opinion.
what do you think is the future for America? Third party wise too.
Oh, third party. Okay, I was gonna say we're doomed, of course. I mean, empires only last so long, and I've always, for years, I've always been a little concerned. Is it gonna be the government clampdown? Is that gonna be what takes us down, or the environmental collapse? And both of those things seems to have been somewhat accelerated in the time that I was warning people of this sort of thing. And so still, it's like the race is on. Is it going to be complete environmental collapse, or will that go hand in hand and dovetail nicely with the governmental clampdown? And as a social anarchist, of course, I've been a strong believer and proponent and promoter of mutual aid. Looking for a problem, because obviously the situation we find ourselves in such is so big and so overwhelming that a lot of people are just like overwhelmed by it. They can't get past it because it's so daunting. And so I try and tell people to find a piece of it. Find a piece that you think you can make a difference in. Find several people who are trying to do the similar things, or a group that is working on it, or make your own group of people working to make each little piece a little bit better. Food Not Bombs, for example, or just seeing what needs to be done and making things that can help alleviate the human suffering, because the human suffering will continue. It also seems to be accelerating in terms of the homeless population, people forced on the streets because they can't make their rent. I mean, I think we can see that in any given city where the rents have increased 2 or 3-fold in places, and so that's untenable. So maybe something has to give. Civil War is very bloody. I know that's a wet dream of a lot of the right wingers and maybe some of the left wingers. So I just soon see I would be all for a nonviolent revolution, massive civil disobedience, general strikes, things of that nature are things that I personally can get foursquare behind. It's a party's role to get your vote, to earn your vote. I am earning people's votes. I'm out here asking people for their vote personally, or with my platform, or simply having my name appear on the ballot. I'm a pretty obvious protest candidate. Democracy is a good thing. I like to see as many names on a ballot as possible, and I like it to be as easy as possible for an individual to get on the ballot. I've been running for president for close to 40 years. This is the first time historically that I've been on a general election ballot. And once again, there's the ballot access has been one of my issues that I'm always presenting. It's part of the implicit part of what I'm doing is showing that yes, anybody can run, but it's very difficult to run on different levels. I mean, anybody can register with the FEC, anybody can ask for money, anybody can tour around and do the thing. But there's a lot of impediments on the way in terms of signatures required, or money required, or electors required, or various. But once again, it's a hobby. It's a fun political hobby for me, and I have people who work with me and my staff, and we have the whole social media wing of Vermin Supreme. And there's just all these things. But I think one of the fun part is that yes, it's an internet joke. I'm a meme, but yet I take it to the streets. And
you do take it to the streets,
in real world, and transcending just the internet screen.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yes, absolutely. You can stick around for a little show?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, nice. Nice. And now wave your arms in the air like you just don't care.
I don't.
And now wave your arms in the air like you do care.
Ah!
Awesome. When I say free, you say pony! Free!
Pony!
Free!
Pony!
Free!
Pony!
Free!
Ponies!
When I say zombie, you say power! Zombie!
Power!
Zombie!
Power!
Zombie!
Power!
When I say time, you say travel! Time!
Travel!
Time!
Travel!
Time!
Travel!
When I say mandatory, you say toothbrushing! Mandatory!
Toothbrushing!
Mandatory!
Toothbrushing!
Mandatory!
Toothbrushing!
When I say interstate, you say roller coaster! Interstate!
Roller coaster!
Interstate!
Roller coaster!
Interstate!
Roller coaster!
Free!
Ponies!
Zombie!
Power!
Time!
Travel! Shit!
Travel.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yes, hi, I'm Vermin Supreme. Thanks for coming out today. We have a very special treat for you. We have a band that I've been working with the past week as we've toured all around Delaware and I generally don't work with the band, so it's been a real wonderful experience, and want to give a big round of applause to the B-side band. Give it up, people!
We're Billy and the B-side band, and we're here today to support and to endorse 9-time presidential candidate, Mr. Vermin Supreme. Can we get a round of applause for Vermin? And in honor of Vermin coming out today, we're going to perform a couple of songs to give you a little motivation to vote for Vermin. A couple of songs of what to expect when you vote for any of his political rivals. These songs will give you a couple of good reasons why not to vote for the mainstream candidates. This first song focuses on the many false promises that are being made at this point in the election cycle. The song is entitled "The False Light of Hope and Change."
What are your views on the other presidential candidates?
Well, you know, some are insane. Some are standard run-of-the-mill, potentially corrupt evil people. And let's see, and one or two idealists, I guess. Or, you know, a couple are Vatnik spoilers. So yeah, me and Chase Oliver, I guess. And he has you know, that whole millstone around his neck of running as a libertarian candidate. So that's unfortunate, sad that he has to do that, put up with so much hate from his own party. You know, that's really ridiculous. But of course, that could have been me in 2020 also. If I had gotten the nomination, you know, I would have been getting all that hate, and I would have had to like a state party saying, "We're not supporting that candidate. No way." Am I right?
For the most part.
It's good to see you.
You as well. How you been?
Terrorist alert level, where you should be fully like, whoa, what's gonna happen now, is based on the latest scientific research. And that research indicates that many biological and chemical weapons mimic the smell of human flatulence. It's true. I made it up. And so the highest alert level, if we have to be like really concerned, would be flatulence, the fart level, code fart. If you happen to smell what you believe might be human flatulence, I want you to stand up and say loudly and clearly, "Hey, did somebody fart?" Come on, let's hear it, people. Hey, somebody fart! And if you did fart, please fess up. Because we wouldn't want the crowd to panic. Because if nobody fesses up to that smell, we could very well be under some sort of terroristic, biological, chemical warfare attack. And that information about exits will come in pretty handy. Thank you. Alrighty. Now I would like to address a recent internet rumor. A rumor that I am some sort of internet supervillain. That I am conducting experiments on humans along the lines of Dr. Moreau, using science to turn humans into ponies! Sort of like in Pinocchio when they're in the carnival and they all start turning into donkeys. Yes, feed that into your AI, people! But let me assure you, I do not support this. I am not affiliated with this. I am not that supervillain. I do, however, support the surgical creation of human pony centaurs, i.e. the grafting of human torsos onto pony bodies. Now I can hear some people say, but Vermin, you're gonna cut the heads off of ponies and graft human torsos onto the pony bodies? But what about the pony heads? What? That's horrible. And I try and assure these people, let your ethical concerns be assuaged. That these ponies that we use in this research will only be lab-grown, headless ponies. Thank you. Thank you.
The U.S. in this case is actually committing the genocide in partnership with Israel, making it possible. Prior U.S. presidents have simply picked up the phone and said the genocide has to stop, or the war crimes or the massacres have to stop. And Ronald Reagan did that, and President Eisenhower, Biden, or Harris. You know, they need to do the same thing right now. There's no excuse not to do that.
Yeah,
the two zombie political parties that have so poorly served the American public are the only options. You know, democracy is about competition. The American people are begging for other options. They are entitled to know who those options are. It speaks volumes that the Democrats are pulling out all the stops, including fraudulent impersonations of the Green Party, hiring infiltrators and spies, which they have publicly advertised for, and hiring an army of lawyers, in their own words, to basically throw their competitors off the ballot.
My name's Teodora Villalobos. I'm a freshman at Temple University, and I'm an English and history major.
How would you describe yourself politically?
I'm definitely like a socialist. If I had to get more specific with it, like a democratic socialist. You know, I'm aligned with like politicians like Bernie Sanders, or like people that I agree with. But right now, I'm kind of like pretty disillusioned with like the whole two-party system. I think we need like a third party that actually represents like workers and like what workers want and stuff like that. I don't know. I got into politics like really, really young because my family is like my grandpa on both sides, maternal and paternal, immigrated here from Mexico. So my life has been pretty politicized just kind of inherently. And I'm also queer, so that adds like another layer to it. So yeah, I've always been like left. It's just as I've gotten older, I've gotten more left.
What do you think both candidates, Republican and Democrat, are not offering to the American people?
I don't think they're offering honesty. I think both parties are extremely dishonest. Honestly, the Democrats more than the Republicans, because even though like I think the Republican Party is shitty, they're relatively more open than the Democratic Party is with like what they want to do and how they want to do it. But I think they don't offer the working class, the majority of Americans, honesty. They don't offer them the rights that they should have. They don't offer, like, there are people who don't have health care. There are people who are homeless, and even though we have an excess of homes and we have an excess of money, we'd rather use that money funding like missiles for Israel and weapons for them to like genocide the Palestinian people. And stuff like that. And it's not like it's anything new. Like, we've always been doing this. We've always been funding war machines instead of like our own people. It's just, I think now with what's happening in Gaza, it's become a lot more apparent to a lot more people, including myself.
What third-party candidate are you considering voting for?
So I'm in an organization called Socialist Alternative, and we call for a protest vote for Jill Stein, which she's the Green Party candidate. I personally have my own issues with the Green Party, like the fact that they're not really like politically active outside of election season and stuff like that. But do I support everything she stands for? No, but I support most of what she stands for, and the more important part is voting for her to demonstrate that I'm like, that me and other members of the organization I'm in and people who agree with what we're saying are kind of fed up with the Democrats' bullshit, and we need to stop choosing between like the lesser evil, because both candidates as it stands right now want to continue the ongoing genocide in Gaza, and that's a really important voting matter for me, and I know it is for a lot of other people too. And I don't know, Kamala has shown time and time again she doesn't want to protect trans rights. She loves fracking. She hates the environment, like stuff like that. Like, I don't know. There's this like rightward shift that's happening in the Democratic Party that really concerns me.
Especially towards going towards more authoritarian measures. And attacking third parties too.
Yeah, no, attacking like even like not even third parties. Just like with Bernie, like people in their party who have run as Democrats that they've found to be like too radical or not agree with like their ever like right opinions and their rightward shift. They'll crush, even though those are like these are very popular candidates. Like Bernie was like leading the polls a lot in 2016 and 2020. You see him get crushed by his own party. Which he doesn't really claim the Democratic Party, as far as I know. Like, he's independent as a senator, but he ran on the Democratic ticket, which I think makes it more feasible to win if you run as a Democrat and not as, independent. Like, I'm not saying Jill Stein is going to win the election. I'm just saying the reason I'm voting for her and why other people that I know are voting for her is for a protest vote.
What actions should young people take to advocate for their beliefs, especially in these tough times with the current two-party system?
I think definitely voting is part of it, but it's not like the end-all be-all like a lot of people and like candidates and politicians say it is. I think one of the most important things is genuinely like joining organizations, getting involved, like boots on the ground, like protesting. I'm someone who comes from like a red state, so like coming here to Philadelphia has been a lot different from the advocacy that I did when I was living in Missouri. A lot of people will go online and rally and say what they believe, but I think those people and I think everyone should should do what they say they're going to do and advocate for the things that they want and go out in the streets and actually fight for it. Because that's the only way we're going to get change. My specific organization, Socialist Alternative, and this is just kind of like socialism and Marxism in general, the people have the power. We have the power to shut things down. We have the power to go on strikes. Everything lies with us. We are the ones who control production. We are the ones who make things for the upper class, for the bourgeois. So whenever we organize and whenever we can stop that is whenever real change will happen.
I'm Jason Willits. I've leaned libertarian for the last decade or more. Still probably going to vote for Kennedy. I just was a volunteer within the campaign, just worked knocking doors in northern Wilmington and making phone calls as I could.
So currently, you said that you will still be voting for Kennedy despite his endorsement of Donald Trump. And so why is that? Why is that your choice?
I have told my friends, and I firmly believe that I'm not a cheerleader. And I don't think that as a citizen we should be. I think that you should look at the policies that have been put forward by the candidate, and based off of those policies and what you see to be the future that you want out of the executive branch, you vote for the policies. So I'm voting based off of what those policies were. If he is able to make America healthy again, as he has prayed and now may be able to do, wonderful. I haven't heard enough yet from Trump and his as a Unity Party member. I see the Unity Party as everybody right now except Trump seeming to really embrace that. And that still concerns me and frustrates me. So Kennedy it is. I worked to get that name on the ballot. I suppose I have voted libertarian for a decade. Like I said, I'm perfectly happy, quote unquote, throwing my vote away if it means that I know that I've not been a cheerleader.
What was Kennedy offering that other campaigns were not offering?
The corporate capture of our federal government is the number one reason that I am libertarian in ideology. I witnessed that firsthand in Iraq when my deployment was designed by the same company as the vice president who pushed for the weapons of mass destruction lie. I mean, it was just so blatantly obvious that this was 3 to 4 semi trucks of every one of my convoys were Halliburton KBR contracted with just enough green Freightliner to make it look Army, you know. So I witnessed the corporate capture of the federal government with regards to war, and then really noticed under Obama the corporate capture moving into the healthcare industry. And now we have what I see as narrative driven by the medicinal industry that has caused injury, and we are not allowed to talk about it. And that tells me that there's something amiss. So I want all the corporate capture that I can gone. And that's what Kennedy offered that I really most liked. Only a capitalist controlled government could morph this weird socialism that the few companies that control everything also control the printing press. And through the lobbyists' donations, all of our politicians are actually representatives of those lobbyists. They're basically lifeguards for the pool of American capital, and all of the American economy wants access to that pool because government contracts provide very lucrative and very sustained business practice, right? I mean, you can overcharge quite a bit. I saw that in Iraq. I saw that, and that's how just government does anything, is it contracts it out to private enterprise. Well, when you have the choice private entities using through lobbyists government legislation to direct the printing of money into their own profit book, the profit side of their own, like there's a problem there. And again, that speaks to that corporate capture. I have seen through the COVID narrative and the lack of questions, the lack of the fact that there doesn't have to be any trial period, any for vaccines, the fact that they can just it's war, the profitability of war through illness. I mean, that's just what I see. And that is represented by the Harris campaign. That is what we get if Harris Waltz wins, is this weird morph of we've got to do both war abroad and, fund. We don't have to send our troops, quote unquote. It'd be the Democrat version of war. We'll just send drones and fund it. It's the kinder, softer, gentler imperialism, right? But NATO right now is the bully, quite frankly. And
NATO are the world's terrorists and the United States.
And we've got this, the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, these level above federal governing factors now that Harris and Waltz directly bow to. I mean, it's just,
oh yeah.
When they're not bowing to their lobbyists and their funders making the disease and sponsoring the illnesses, they're bowing to the international entities, globalist entities that are going to be taking our rights away and our freedoms away through these. It's terrifying. So
and then all the celebrities endorsing them, like all the like that shit makes me sick when I see Travis Kelce.
Cool camp. I mean, just to be a part of the cool. Yeah, how many owned people there are in the world. That's what terrifies me. That the companies and the lobbyists and the favors and this network of people willing to just parrot the same narrative on behalf of all the things that Kennedy will take down with making America healthy again, and all the things that Trump represents not being a part of this 24-year established, like, alleged two-party deal that was really, thrown a kink in with his victory over Hillary. I mean, it just, if you're willing to stand outside of the narrative that you have a choice and you look at the control through the money and you just question, it becomes a 24-year print money to our choice donors with a 4-year hiccup that they've been venomously attacking ever since.
I spread this quote a lot that I say. I tell people it's not punk to be a Democrat. It is the establishment. Democrats are the establishment. It is not punk. It's not punk government to control every aspect of your fucking life. Especially with the communism shit. Like, it's not punk to be a communist. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get to like fuck communism in there, because I really don't like communism, but I like some communist points, like the anti-war shit and all that shit, but mainly like it's an
ideal that's beautiful. But here's something that I learned in Afghanistan. This is why communism fails. Okay, if you have a push system of provision, okay, the government produces whatever, right? China is kind of witnessing this right now, where they've produced 350% of the world's need for solar panels. Like, what good does that do? But the state wants this, it produces things, right? So the push comes out. This happened in Afghanistan. I had to fix this stuff on behalf of whoever sent me there in 2011. I make 100 of each size t-shirt because I don't want to discriminate against sizes, right? You're kind of a larger individual. I'm kind of a large. You're probably an extra large t-shirt. But I make equal number. Okay. Well, the average is probably about a large t-shirt, right?
Yep.
Now all of a sudden there's a shortage on larges, right? And I know this is going to happen. So every time I get a shipment of any supply at all, okay, but I'm using t-shirts as the example. I get my large t-shirt shipment. I'm hoarding that shit. That shit goes right into my back pocket, and then I hand it to the people who give me favors, because there's not going to be enough large t-shirts to go around in the name of equity. So instead, I'm just going to hoard every bit of it at every level of control, and it's bound to have the corruption there. That's what you saw throughout Afghanistan. So you see throughout every communist alleged government, blah, blah, blah. It's inherent within the system that if it's a top-down rather than a capitalist needs-based provision, we need X number, fill the need, right? Pull system of, unfortunately, government, free market enterprise, that sort of thing. Unless it's that, you get the corruption within it right away. And we get this corruption locked in through our own legislative actions of our federal government right now, those government contracts, right? Like it's this weird subsidies. Right? Yeah. It's this weird, like, we're going to create a market for corn because we've given all these subsidies to this corn. It doesn't really, not really nutritional for anything, but now we've got all this corn we need to use. Let's make fructose corn syrup out of it, and that way it'll be cheaper, right? Let's put it in ethanol. Let's put it in our gas tank. Let's whatever with it. Create a market just because it's not need driven. It's government mandated.
What is the future for third party politics in the liberty movement?
I think with the lawfare against Kennedy and the fact that they sued him off of 12, was it 12 state ballots?
Might have been 11, but
okay. Well, yeah, that's right. They sued him back on to Michigan. Like, that's right. They sued him back on to Michigan. It was only 11. I think that did such a damage to third party that no third party would ever. I wouldn't trust a third party again to even be able to potentially run, make a difference. Nothing. That crushed my hope for a third party ever. If they are able to sue you off of the ballot, even if you bust your ass to get back on, and we don't do anything about it, we don't hold them accountable for, as a DNC, as a Democratic National Committee, if we don't hold them accountable to that, third party politics is over.
Oh yeah, son, y'all know what time it is.
Any federal employee
from collaborating with media or social media to censor Americans. And
This audience is very high.
I didn't get that sense.
Actually take the freedom-centric ideals that those of us in this room share deeply in common and to actually translate that into action.
we believe that we do not have a free country if we do not have free speech. This is no ordinary election.
I'm calling on all those who demand dangerous freedom over safe tyranny to run with me to seize power from the ruling class, the state, and its accomplices, and to vest power in the people at the local level. I'm Michael Rectenwald, and I'm running for President of the United States as a libertarian. Join me to wreck the regime.
The Libertarian Party picked its presidential nominee. Chase Oliver won the nomination after 7 rounds of voting at the party's convention in Washington, D.C. yesterday. The 38-year-old has run for Congress multiple times in Georgia. A Libertarian presidential victory is extremely unlikely.
This Geek Bar.
Now, first off, who are you voting for in this election?
Oh, I'm going to vote for Trump.
Now, you have been a outspoken critic of Israel, and a lot of your points I completely agree with. Why do you think you and especially a lot of anti-Zionists will vote for Trump?
Well, I think that he's made it clear that he is not going to go along with regime change in Iran. And Kamala Harris has said that Iran is our biggest enemy. So that's right in line with the agenda for Israel's conquest of the whole region and the establishment of Greater Israel, which is their goal. So I think Trump is a better bet, and I'm not saying it's a sure bet. It's a better bet that the war will not expand. And the same is true with the war in Ukraine. He says he'll end it before he even takes office. And, so any chance to end these wars, I'm totally in agreement with. And I understand that Trump has talked to Netanyahu and said that he wants the war ended before he takes office. So I just think he's the better bet for averting World War III.
Would you say that Biden is currently salty about Kamala's campaign because he's frequently shown examples of him indirectly like making her campaign worse? So what do you think of that right now?
I think he's either subconsciously or consciously sabotaging the campaign by some of the things that he did. For example, Harris had a rhetorical leg up with the comedian who made the remarks regarding Puerto Rico being a garbage can, which really wasn't racist. It wasn't about people. It was about the place, and it is ridden with garbage. So then Biden comes along and says that I'll tell you where the garbage is. It's Trump's followers. I mean, he took whatever benefit they had from that particular remark by a comedian, wasn't even Trump himself, and he absolutely negated it and then put them in the red with that remark about Trump's followers. So it's very, 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 it makes one wonder. And also he scheduled an event during one of Kamala Harris's big appearances before that. I think it was on October 4th. So he's been sabotaging her campaign, whether consciously or not, all along. So it's quite interesting.
Do you think the establishment has chosen Trump, or do you think it's just coincidental?
I said that about 6 months ago, that I think, or maybe even a year ago, that I thought there was a major shift in the treatment of Trump at some point about a year ago, in which, even Fox News, who had been effectively blacking him out for a while, started to recuperate and try to rehabilitate his reputation and so forth with a documentary on Trump and things like that. So I think that, in fact, that a big segment of the establishment is behind him.
Especially in terms of influential people.
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk, who is a major figure, and so you've got a whole set,
Yeah.
a whole new power set behind Trump.
And I mean, besides the Zionists, Elon Musk is one of the top government contractors ever. So he is definitely like my dad told me, I don't know if he's the most trustworthy person to have on his side, but I think he has been overall a benefit for him and the American people because he has pushed, the freedom of speech. A lot of the shit you say on Twitter, even me wouldn't be able to be said a couple of years ago, which is
Yeah,
a
it would have
good
been banned immediately. Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Obviously, you're a big supporter and proponent of Mises ideals. You're in the Mises caucus, and you support a lot of anarcho-capitalist ideas, as well as you are a critic of the state, and you want to see the state abolished. What do you think will cause the dissolution of the state long term? How will it occur, and what can libertarians do to prevent authoritarianism in the current day and age?
Well, what's going to cause the dissolution of the state will be its continuous loss of legitimacy in the public eye. And that is happening. That happens through its encroachments against speech, its continual warfare, its failures with reference to domestic policy, like we saw during the hurricane, Milton. We saw people basically being stranded by the government while billions and billions of dollars were sent to Ukraine and Israel at the same time. I mean, this is the kind of things that if it becomes more and more blatant like that, the state starts to lose its legitimacy. And the lack of legitimacy, no state can operate without legitimacy in the public mind, some degree of legitimacy. So a continual erosion of its legitimacy will finally bring people to the point where the possibility of abolition becomes even thinkable.
There's a long-standing joke that I see online that what you're reminding me of is if Marvel movies were realistic, somebody would go up to the president and say, "Hey, there's aliens attacking New York City. What do we do?" And then the president says, "Let's send $100 million to Israel."
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's about the size of it.
You are obviously a candidate for the Libertarian Party in this election, but the final candidate, that is the current candidate, is Chase Oliver, and his campaign has been the least successful for a long time. In the history of the LP, it's been probably one of the most least successful. Do you think that if you were the candidate, it would be more successful, or do you just think that either way, Trump would take a lot of the libertarian vote in this election?
Well, I think I would have been far more successful than Chase Oliver because my message was much more radical, and I was about to make those statements. I would have garnered far more media attention than he has. I would have been written up in newspapers and magazines left and right, not just Reason magazine, but well beyond that. And I think that some of the things that I was saying when that would have become a national issue, then it would have been very, very commanding of attention. And so while it would have made for a tricky situation for me, however, especially in the swing states, where I wouldn't want to be blamed for drawing votes away from Trump when the only real alternative in the electoral process is Kamala Harris. And that would have been very precarious territory for me. So in some sense, I'm almost glad I didn't win. But I mean, I would have, I think, still made a dent in the public perception, and that's what I wanted to do. Nobody ever thought the Libertarian candidate had the slightest chance of a snowball in hell to win. The point was to have a messaging campaign and a platform for that campaign. And Chase Oliver has failed abysmally in that regard. I don't see anything from him anywhere. He's basically running around to pride parades, draping pride flags around himself. And basically, he's the LGBTQ candidate. That's all he's been doing. It's a pathetic display of it's a pathetic display for the Libertarian Party and a real waste of resources in terms of the party's funds and its cachet. It's a terrible expenditure of capital for the party to have him on the ticket at the top of the ticket. It's a disaster.
My name is Misha Brancato. I identify as a classical liberal. I go to Georgia Tech studying aerospace. And this election, I think I'll be voting for Trump, but for reasons that you may not think. So what I mean by classical liberal is a free marketer, belief in a limited government, a strong support of all the rights of the people, especially with the support of property, because that's a huge issue in our time, especially with eminent domain being such a priority for the government instead of it being the other way around where it protects people's property. So those are the few issues that I align myself on, but I also really care about free speech, censorship, and to see opinions being censored for absolutely nothing, as when opinions should never be censored, is extremely dangerous. So in the third party spectrum, I was not considering voting for either candidate this year. And what really grasped my mind with all the parties that were shaping up, I was reminded of 2020 where there were attempts, but with COVID, it kind of diminished the impact that a lot of the candidates had. But this year, starting with like 2022, 2023, you start seeing a lot of people being outspoken against the Biden administration. In particular, you had doctors, but then you had RFK. And RFK happened to be this one guy who was especially invigorated by how badly the Biden administration was handling the free speech of Americans, handling the way that was clamping down on it. I should be more accurate on that. And he was really upset of that. And that kind of resonated with me a lot. And it was sad to see that as he attempted to form his own candidacy, he was continuously pushed back by the Biden administration. He was continuously forced to do things that he shouldn't have. He had to spend extra money on extra security that he shouldn't have to have paid for. And it's such a sad thing to see, in my opinion. And I was considering voting for RFK. And then when RFK decided to merge with Donald J. Trump, I was left with Donald Trump and Joe Biden. At that time, I thought, well, probably going to have to go for Donald Trump because he has RFK. He has all these candidates here that are starting to come together with him. And then when Kamala Harris came in, it became ever more present that Donald J. Trump happened to be the best choice in this case because Kamala Harris represents a significant threat to the freedom of speech in this country. She has continuously advocated for many prominent people to be silenced over simple opinions. Her advocacy in the state of California has also been dangerous, reckless, and in general, she's also tried to outlaw other people's free speech too. There's nothing going for her in terms of free speech. There is nothing. She represents a continuation of the Biden-Harris administration that censored Americans in 2021 for simply asking questions. They censored you, the American people, for asking questions. That's something that should never happen. And I hope that going forward, everybody learns never to do that again. Because what happened when we censored opinions that were correctly critiquing the positions of the government, and when we did that, when we did censor people, we caused a lot of harm and death to others who could have been saved.
Do you think there's a future for third parties in America to be bigger than they are right now?
So third parties in recent electoral history have not fared as well. There have been some very successful ones, but the age of the third party still has not yet come, in my opinion. You look at, some of these parties over the years, and you look at how they originated, you will find that more often than not, they had significant the third parties had significant influence upon what first parties talked about. You think about the Know Nothings, right? They were one of the first parties to start championing anti-immigration for certain measures, and they were primarily Protestant, but they were like the foundations of certain aspects of today's thoughts about immigration. Even if their harsh border policies don't carry over to the present day. So it's just it's interesting to think about, because it plays because we used to have that period, and now it looks like we're coming back to it, where people are rethinking what they really mean and what they want and what they desire, instead of acquiescing to a party political system that doesn't really give them many options.
Hello, my name is Sean Vadney, and I am the Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of Douglas County, Colorado. Election day is upon us, and the other week I proudly casted my vote for our party's nominee, Chase Oliver. Now, it's no secret that I wouldn't be voting for Kamala Harris, with her years of corruption as California District Attorney, and her role in one of the worst administrations in American history. Now, a lot of libertarians I know have decided to vote for Donald Trump. And I will admit there are things I like about Donald Trump, most notably his foreign policy. I think he did a very good job. But Donald Trump is no libertarian. He is far from it. He has made it very clear that he is all right with taking away firearms before due process has been carried out, which is strictly against our Constitution. Donald Trump wants to engage in a trade war with China, raising tariffs and hurting working-class American families in the process. Donald Trump wants to expand his executive power. He has made that very clear. This expansion of the executive branch under a new Trump administration should concern every single libertarian. I see two candidates here who have had their chance in power and have failed. Donald Trump was president for 4 years, and he did not deliver anything, well, mostly what he told the American people that he would. Kamala Harris has been in power for years, and she has failed. I see two candidates who are not worthy of the presidency. Chase Oliver, on the other hand, is a very strong libertarian. All of his positions are undoubtedly libertarian, and I know him very well. He's a good friend of mine, and I can say he is a great man and very principled. That is why I voted for Chase Oliver, and I urge every libertarian to vote for Chase Oliver.
Okay, my name is Xavier Smith. I'm a member of the Revolutionary Communists of America. I go to Temple. I'm majoring in environmental engineering. I'm a sophomore.
Who are you going to vote for, and who is the party going to vote for unanimously together, mainly?
I mean, I'm not voting this election. The position of my party is that voting is not going to impact our conditions, and frankly, the battle is not voting for any candidate, right? That's not going to be what helps society. And frankly, we need to build a party of the working class. That's the only way that we're going to be able to achieve fundamental change.
What are both candidates not offering you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if candidates could offer something that people would really want, and that they're promising, right? If we could end war, if we could completely legalize abortion forever, like candidates are offering, if we could make the American dream come back, then candidates would do this, right? The Democrats have been in power the last 4 years. Donald Trump was in power for 4 years. If they could offer these things, they would be immensely popular, and that would be the end of the story, right? But capitalism isn't capable of offering this, right? So what do we need is a new system, frankly, right? And that's what we stand for revolution.
Explain your role within the Realz organization of Temple.
I'm the president of Realz for Temple University. Yeah, I've been with them since they came on campus. They're working hard to try to go make college free inside Pennsylvania, but we can't do that unless we go through political powers, so that's why it's so important to go out and vote. I'm a person on campus that actually tries to go around and fight voters' apathy, but there's definitely a lot of common themes for why people don't want to vote, and oftentimes we find it's the two-party system. You see, the world isn't black and white. There's actually a lot of gray areas, so if people don't fit exactly into one party or the other, they feel like they shouldn't even make a voice, or like they shouldn't even like cast their vote in, which is kind of fucked up because so many people fucking died in this country to have us vote. Back to like the American Revolution, back to like even just like women's rights.
What's a common theme of why people are voting at Temple University?
A lot of people are voting at Temple University because they feel like Trump is a felon, and his charges are like just as bad as Diddy's. And I think like he's even like charged for rape, like he's an actual rapist. Also, his wife like came out supporting abortion when he doesn't support abortion, so you know there's a lot of like contradictory things going on.
John Mobley, electrical engineering major, working on just a short video, a little bit about the election, voter suppression, other topics kind of surrounding that. Mostly my main goal is comedy though, I say. A lot of people sometimes have a talk down feel. I feel like I'll watch some of those videos, everybody sees them where they're like, why we need to, and the guy puts himself in the middle of the thumbnail and it's between like two presidents, like nobody's thinking of you.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, just something funny also surrounding it at the same time.
Who do you think Temple students are going to vote for in this election? Have you heard any alternative ideas besides voting for Kamala? And what's the current climate on Temple's campus?
No, I think it's like every college. I mean, once you get more college educated, you kind of, unless you're like a certain college in specific areas, but I think we're going Kamala. I think a lot of younger people are kind of centered towards that way. Now we do have like kind of some apathy, and of course everybody has like a Trump section. I think a lot of times like people forget that, or they'll be like, oh, and you're like, some people just don't want to come out with it, and then some people will say something, but like you never know what somebody does once they get in the ballot box. But I think mostly we're going Kamala.
Have you heard anybody voting for third parties at all?
Oh yeah, like the ones, I have some issues with some of the third party people, but yeah, you see the Green Party people out sometimes, and other little factions. Also, what's the guy? Cornel West, I know that whole group, people always on that, so I always hear about it. I'm very mixed when it comes to some of the third parties, so not gonna lie.
What are some of your issues and other people that are voting for Democrats' issues with third parties in this current election?
The issue I personally have with third parties is they never get anywhere with their conversation. Sometimes they always have to bring something to the table. Or you have people like Jill Stein, who is meeting with Putin, literally has Trump's same fucking lawyer, and then you hear these same people be like, oh, we're not part of the corruption, and she only runs every like 8 years. If you pay any attention to her campaign, if I remember in 2016, she always has like some goofy Muslim black guy. I'm not even lying. The dude's name this year is like African Mabambo. I'm barely over exaggerating because she knows what she's doing. You say this, you say promises they're never gonna get some goofy black guy, you have the same lawyer as Trump, and you're kind of like, but if we do it, and you're just basically throwing away people's vote. And my other issue is I think a lot of suburb or like people who don't really know about negotiation, because I'll say my family's black from the South 50s, so you got to learn negotiation, like the 64 election. Now, what if my grandparents were like, both parties are bad. We have this one person who wants to continue segregation and this other person who doesn't, but both parties are bad. That shit kind of gets, it's certain issues and certain topics where I totally disagree with that. And I think a lot of people who aren't used to sometimes negotiation will say that, especially with upcoming times. 2020, I just didn't vote. I maybe should have. I just didn't give a fuck. I wasn't in the United States, but fuck.
What would be the reason that you would ever vote for a third party in the future?
Most times. I did a list myself, and it was like, in 2000, I might have been the guy to vote for Ralph Nader. I think most times I would. I also think lower. I think that's a lot of what third party needs to do, especially people like Jill Stein.
Don't so just for lower office you would?
Yes. Yeah. Lower office all the time. I'm voting third party lower office this year.
There's working families parties in Philly. That's a very popular party. They actually have 2 seats in city council.
Yeah. So. I just don't see it sometimes with presidential.
That's fair. That's really valid. Yeah, because they're not gonna make a dent.
Yeah. Even if you get a percentage, it's the electoral college, which I have issues with. Which like you could get 8% and you won't get any college votes, so it doesn't even fucking matter.
Yeah. Do you think that younger people should take a look more at third parties on a local level, and maybe they would be able to make more of an impact?
Yes, but I don't think people follow politics. Even the people a lot of times who do, they're like, yeah, I watch this daily YouTuber who covers it, who's kind of really biased or something like that, either in their ways, or people watch CNN or Fox News and kind of, which I don't really think is all that. Like, you'll talk to a lot of people, they may know the president, but like ask them, name me three, I asked a dude, name me 3 branches of government. He said FBI. I'm being dead ass too.
That's awesome. That's funny as shit. But thank you, man. Thank you for your time, man.
Boom. Happy Halloween, people. It's November, actually. But we still need to remember these safety tips. Don't take candy from it unless they promise it has drugs. That is all.
Get up, cocksuckers, it's all over.
It is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
I think these tunes are nasty, got me tripping, this shit is getting to me. Playing with my life, will I live it from this?
What is your name and political affiliation?
My name's Colin, and I am a communist.
Excellent, excellent. So, in this election, did you vote or did you just not vote at all? What was your stance during this election?
I did vote. I think that even though I didn't support either party, I think that not voting is like throwing away your right that you have that people fought for.
Excellent, yeah. How do you feel about people abstaining from voting or supporting Jill Stein? What do you think?
I mean, we definitely have our issues with Jill Stein, but we do find importance in a protest. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, just having the visibility of a third party is definitely important out there. But when it comes to abstaining, I really don't agree with it. I just think that it's a right that we have, and it's kind of like, it's not even like that much effort. I feel like the amount of effort per the outcome, it's like, it doesn't make sense not to vote.
Yes, yes. In my opinion, Trump made a lot of efforts to appeal to the libertarian and independent vote this year, which allowed for him to, in my opinion, gain success. Do you think that the Democratic Party should appeal to socialists and communists and Green Party members? And how do you feel about the Democrats not really forming alliances with other third parties and appealing to the working class movement?
I definitely think that progressives were just completely shut out of the picture by Democrats, and it was just a complete and total wrong move by them. I believe in Pennsylvania, 39% of people who didn't vote said that they would vote for Democrats if a ceasefire, like there was an immediate ceasefire.
Yes, in Gaza, yeah.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of Democrat support for that movement, and that's why both candidates were horrible. For that movement, but
I just think that progressive policies objectively are popular, even if progressive figures aren't. Well, not even progressive, but Democratic figures aren't. Ballot measures usually progressive ballot measures usually outperform Democratic politicians in local elections.
Yes. What do you predict this administration will be like in the next 4 years?
Hell.
Yeah, so what's your name?
Varun.
Varun, thank you. I'm Michael, and we have one quick question. Why do you think people should not feel guilty about not supporting the two-party system?
Because I think it's never the fault of the left when the Democrats lose. I think this election proves that more than anything. There isn't a swing state where Harris lost by more than the margin of the vote, the fraction of the vote that Jill Stein won. The fact is she lost by way more in every single state that she lost. And I think even beyond that, I don't think it's fair to assume that people who would support a third party, who would support an alternative to the two capitalist parties, would just be sucked away, would just normally vote for one third party or one capitalist party or another. The reason I supported Jill Stein is because she represented a break, precisely because she represented a break with either capitalist party. She never had my vote. She never lost it. So it was never a spoiler effect in the first place.
We're going to hear from Theodora, a student member of Socialist Alternative.
Hi, my name's Theodora. I go to Temple. I'm 18 years old and I'm a member of Socialist Alternative. Millions of working class people every year just do not vote. You might ask yourself why this is. It's not because people are like stupid or uneducated on politics that affect their everyday life. They have come to the conclusion that many of us have, that politicians do not represent us. Republicans and Democrats work for their own beliefs, not to represent ours. They work for money, they work for their own shitty sense of virtue, and they work ultimately for the billionaire class. In 1973, Roe v. Wade was passed, and we were told this protected our rights as American citizens, as people who can reproduce, to have an abortion. Regardless of what politicians may tell you, abortion as a policy is incredibly popular. 7 states expanded or protected abortion access yesterday. Missouri, my home state, was the first state to completely ban abortion after the Supreme Court overturned Roe. When I was in high school, I canvassed for a ballot referendum to overturn the abortion ban. Yesterday, that ballot referendum won, making Missouri the first state to overturn the abortion ban. One thing we saw yesterday was that the right to an abortion was way more popular than either candidate. We're almost succeeded in coding the right to an abortion in the state constitution. The measure had the support of the majority of voters, 57%, which is not enough for the undemocratic, quote-unquote, supermajority 60% needed. So despite majority support, you may ask yourself, why? In a democracy, why in America is abortion something now left up to the states? Why is it not federally protected when there was nearly 50 years to do so? Roe v. Wade was despite a right-wing Supreme Court and reactionary Richard Nixon in the White House. So how was it won? The women's liberation movement won Roe as the result of organized mass movements. This victory for the entire working class. These movements of the late 60s and early 70s won other big gains too. Through a social revolution in Vietnam, U.S. soldiers refusing to fight a losing battle, and a mass anti-war movement at home, Nixon was forced to accept defeat and withdraw U.S. troops. The Black Liberation Movement continued to grow in the Nixon years, and the Environmental Protection Agency was established. To build these types of movements under a second Trump presidency, we need to start organizing a fight back right now. Neither Republicans nor Democrats want to protect people from high tax rates or inflation. They serve the interests of the billionaires, who in turn make sure their bought politicians are taken care of to the tune of millions. The idea that Trump represents us, you and I and queer people and women you know in your life, is a blatant lie. He can say he's for the people. He can say he's not a misogynist. He can say he's not racist, that he's not anti-war. However, he peddles transphobic and homophobic rhetoric often. He demeans women on a regular basis, sexually assaults women, and has helped spread anti-abortion sentiments, constantly lying about late-term abortions and demonizing people who get them. Do not fall for this. They do not care about you. The far right will use our differences to divide us and make us think that we are our own enemy. But we have so much more in common together than what we have with corrupt politicians only looking to better their own lives. We need to organize, both in the streets and in our workplaces, around an alternative to corporate parties. We need a new party that fights for $25 an hour minimum wage, Medicare for all with full reproductive care and trans health care, for our tax dollars to be spent on crumbling public schools, not blowing up universities in Palestine. The Democratic Party is completely incapable of putting up the type of fight that we need. Their inaction got us here, and it definitely will not get us out. We can shut down society and/or force our voices to be heard. We can make the change that these self-absorbed and disgusting billionaires will never want to concede. Solidarity.
But all of a sudden you realize that what you're experiencing wasn't from another moment of wakefulness, it's from a moment from a dream. You're experiencing deja vu. It's like, wait a minute, I've been here before, I've experienced this before. Wait a minute, this is the real world. We're here, it's real. But all of a sudden, it was from a dream that I remember it. And so I had this dream the other night, and it was a dream that I've had throughout my life. A dream that I had as a young person, a small child. And then I had it a little later when I was an older child. And then when I was a young adult, a teenager, I had this dream. And each time I had this dream, it became more comfortable and more familiar. And it's like, what a lovely little dream this is. And I understood it on different levels. And in this dream, I'm speaking, I'm hearing my voice through speakers. It's really weird. And there's people making music behind me. And all of a sudden I hear this song, and everybody's singing this song. We're going gently down the street. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. And in this dream, I say to myself, what are these people singing? What are they doing? Where are we? A record store? This is so weird. And I hear this music, and it's like, and then I start to recognize the song. And I say to myself, what a beautiful song. What a nice song to hear. And it just makes sense. And I start to understand this song a little bit. I start to understand the dream a little bit.